Meyer, Associate Artistic Director of Open Fist Theater Company, here interviewing my dear friend who is the Director of Dancing at Lughnasa, in addition to being Open Fist's Literary Manager.
And I am Barbara Schofield, and I am the Literary Manager for Open Fist. I'm also one of the many skilled resident directors that we have. I've directed for Open Fist several times, gratefully, and I'm thrilled to be here directing Dancing at Lughnasa.
Yes. So I think first question that I wanted to ask is why this play, Dancing at Lughnasa, now?
That was a question that we went back and forth on when we were considering what to do this spring and this summer. We want to be relevant, always, of course. Open Fist is a very relevant theater company. We do a lot of theater which is taken from almost from the headlines of the day. We do our political pop-ups every year, all of that stuff, and we're very tied to that. We believe in that. And indeed, we're in a time when it's important for artists to speak out and speak up. But I'll tell you, to be honest, I'm a little like the rest of the country, I think, fried with all of the political stuff that's going on, all of the argumentation, all of the hostility, all of the cynicism, all of the anger that we're all managing all the time. And I really wanted to do a play that was a wonderful actor's piece and a wonderful writer's piece and full of humanity and full of poetry, and still had something really valuable to say about the struggles that we have to stay human in a world which is heavily dehumanizing.
Yes, yeah. And I loved looking at it through the eyes of these characters who are in that cognitive dissonant place of balancing old ideas with new ideas, the ideas that are a little bit more rigid because of religion or that side of culture versus the ideas that are more of the humane spirit and wanting to kind of break out a little bit. And then, as you said, I mean, as an actor's piece, it's just so phenomenally universal and accessible because I think everybody can find their character they relate to.
Right.
And probably in this play, it's more than two even. Do you want to speak a little bit to how you got all these gorgeous actors to so fully live within the skin of those amazing characters?
I knew that I wanted to cast from our company. I didn't want to go outside the company for anything, and we did not, which was lovely.
The way
the sets and the sound are also done by company members, and I knew we had the actors in the company that could do this. We have actors with extremely generous hearts.
Yes.
In almost every performance they do. It's one of the hallmarks of, we are not a cool company in the emotional sense, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I think everybody was ready to go to this place. I think everybody recognized how beautiful the writing was, and they were really interested in going to a performative place that had a lot of rich subtext and a lot of subtlety and a lot of skill was necessary. They embraced the dialect work, they embraced the choreography that they had to learn, they embraced the historical perspectives of these characters. They did a lot of research, and I didn't really have to prod them or push them. We talked really as a family, and we were all on the same page from the very beginning, just about, which was really a blessing.
That's so great.
Yeah.
So did you do any table work, or was that pretty minimal and the actors just came with...
We did do table work in the beginning, and we did it in between things, and we did it on the side of things. I tend to like to get things on their feet pretty quickly, and then still have those conversations, and we can stop in the middle of rehearsal and have discussions, which we did, and people can bring in their different ideas about why they're doing this and why they're doing that. But I really wanted to sketch this world in early because it is such a complex play. It's a memory play, and so it takes place in the present, it takes place in the past. The present is constantly coming into the past and reinterpreting for the audience what they're seeing, telling the audience what is to come, and then you watch the actors in the past move towards these fates you know they have, and you cannot stop it happening. So it's very much like life, if you could go back and relive it. And I knew that it was complex in its structure. So I wanted everybody to get a sense of where we were going in this from the beginning, so that when we got into starting to work on things more closely, they'd know how the poetry echoes and re-echoes and re-echoes through the whole piece. It's a phenomenal piece of writing. And
it really is, and your direction on it, I mean, I've had the honor of working with you on stage, and I've been directed by you. And one thing I love about the process is that it is very character driven, and it's about the characters telling the truth. And it's interesting because I feel like, having seen the play week 2, it already feels like it's been open and running. I mean, that's how tight that ensemble is.
Yeah, they're really amazing.
Did you have any challenges or any particular hiccups that came up in the rehearsal process, or was it pretty smooth sailing?
All intimate theater in LA has challenges because it's driven by, thankfully, by wonderful artists, but almost all of whom are working jobs in the daytime and coming and doing theater work. Their great passion for theater work at night, and everybody has a million things pulling on their lives. And so coming and doing a piece like this had to be as much work as it was as much pleasure, hopefully. And there were challenges, certainly, but there always are challenges, especially when you're dealing with actors who are wonderful and emotional and available, and all of that comes with, with some management. But I wasn't really in the role of manager so much as leading, hopefully, people towards their best performances, which is what my goal was. And to always keep in mind that they're telling truth about their character at every second. At every second they're telling story. At every second you should be able to look at any place on the stage and see someone living their life fully in that moment, reacting to what's going on, having thoughts about their own subtext and how it's interrelating to what's going on without pulling focus, which takes great skill. But we have a very skillful cast, so I'm fortunate.
Yes, and you watch the show and it feels as though they are the family they are meant to feel like. It rings as completely true. I know schedule-wise, you have a couple of new members joining the ensemble at different times. Could you speak to the opportunity and what that is going to be like?
Well, it was an opportunity, and I wanted to have understudies. Whether we needed them or not, I wanted to have understudies because
LA is LA.
When it is smart. But I also believe, as you know from working with me in the past, that if we have an understudy, the understudy gets stage time. I don't believe in having them do all that work and never have the opportunity to show the work that they've done in the proper context to their family, their friends, their agents, whoever. You've done the work, you should get on stage, even if it's just for 2 performances. As it turned out, we actually did need our understudies, and so we're very lucky in that we have a very generous cast, and everybody's on board for put-in rehearsals and overtime with the understudies going in. Everybody's very supportive. We're thrilled about the quality of the actors that we have going in.
It's great too because you had the leeway, so the understudies really have been able to be part of the ensemble kind of the whole time, which I think makes a big difference versus those last minute.
And both of them, both Jennifer and Neil, will bring something new and wonderful to the parts that they're going to be stepping into. And so that's exciting. And the whole cast is excited about the opportunity to see where this play grows to now. That's how confident they are in the production they already are working on. They own it so fully that anything new is an addition, not a subtraction. And
it's so great.
Really comfortable.
It's so great. And it is another part of the joy of actually casting company members who've been part of the Open Fist family, and so they all have each other's back in a way that I think is really particular to our company.
With all the tensions. It certainly helps with the tensions that naturally arise in any rehearsal period, because everybody understands where everybody else's sort of boundaries are and where their tension lines are, and so it's easy to move on from things, or it's easy to talk to people about things and move past things that are difficult. So that's good.
So are there any of the Mundy sisters who you think you relate to the most?
Most like me? Oh God, I don't know. There's times that Kate is very much like me. There's times that Chrissy is really like me, especially like I used to be when I was Chrissy's age. I'm not as foolish anymore. Red flags are bigger for me now than they were then. But I totally get where she's coming from, and her exuberance and her highs and her lows and all of that. I appreciate Maggie, and I appreciate her sense of humor and her desire to keep things moving forward and to try and put a positive spin on the strains in the threads of the family.
Yeah.
I hope that everybody can see a part of themselves in everyone, even in Rosie, who is the sister who is most challenged,
Right.
mentally and emotionally challenged, because of her desire, her longing for romance in her life, her longing to have what everybody else has, or at least that her sister Chris has, her
Right.
longing to be special to somebody, and the risks that she's prepared to take for that. And I think everybody should be able to identify with that.
Yeah, I mean, I found every one of the characters had something that I felt I had in common with them.
Right.
It's interesting because as an actor, you read a script and you think, oh, I would kill to play this character or that character. It's rare, though, that a play like this, I was like, oh, any of them. I'd be Father Jack. I get him. I understand why this sort of world that he got to thrive in, that was all about saying yes instead of, rigid laws, would be complete freedom, and how coming back to this place must feel stifling.
Right.
And I mean, Jerry, he's the adventurer, and you see relationship with him, and of course all of the sisters at different times of one's life, you can go, yeah, I think I was a little bit that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or I was in love with a little bit of that.
Right.
There was somebody I was in love with
be a little bit
that
of that.
I knew wasn't good for me, but it didn't matter because charm is relevant.
Yes.
And charm has value.
Yes.
And especially when so much of your life seems charmless, those people that breeze in and breeze out, however dangerous they may be in a structured world that needs a future that is dependable, you're grateful for their presence when they're there, because
Absolutely.
they elevate the moment that you spend with them.
They are a change in the climate, and even if it's a hailstorm, it's an event.
Yeah, and it's a necessary, absolutely necessary thing when your life is as brutal as it is, with no money in the middle of the Depression and no prospects in a small town in northwestern Ireland where all the men have gone away to find work and all the women are left here with very few prospects. And I mean, this is a brutal life in a lot of ways that many people were living during the Depression, but certainly in a small village in northwestern Ireland where there was no money and no work. And to have someone like Jerry breeze in to dance with you and sing with you and flirt with you and wink at you, and even if it was all lies, it was charming lies. And it is, I think it's one of those great things that the Irish remind us of, and that they do so well, is that they do value the importance of charm as a practical thing in life, not just as a necessary thing in life, not just as something that happens that you should be suspicious of, but as an absolute necessity when the life around you is so difficult.
I've always been a huge fan of the Irish, and I mean, I love Samuel Beckett, I love James Joyce, I love all of the great Irish writers, but some of it too is just the fact that there's a wink in the tragedy, there's an understanding that there's the importance of humor, and just nobody in the play has bad intentions. Everybody's intentions are great. Yeah,
just
and it's
as
just
they
the
are.
execution.
Yeah. Well, for most people in life, I think that's true. Very few people I know have actually conscious bad intentions.
Yeah.
Ever. It's just that your intentions may conflict or may, disrupt someone else's intentions.
Right.
And then we may do a lot of things to cover that up or to bury that, which makes for good drama too.
It does,
right?
indeed.
But I think initially most people don't. And when you can play characters like that, it's restful for the audience to, for a change, not pick a side. Which is the other thing I loved about this play, is it doesn't pick a side. It doesn't tell you these are the good people, these are the bad people. You can like everybody and still have all your opinions about it, but you can also see yourself in it and your own family and the traumas that you've gone through or that you've put somebody else through unintentionally.
Right.
And how it's affected their lives. And you can see the totality of it. The character of Michael is particularly interesting because he is the storyteller. He's the time traveler. He's the one whose memory this play is.
Right.
And he's been permanently traumatized by this event.
And yet he describes
that
that when his father comes to visit, it was his chance to observe. Not judge, but observe.
To observe, yeah. But I think it's interesting to note the way that that David says that line, because he doesn't say it with pleasure.
No.
He says it in there's an edge to it, because he knows now what he knows now about his father that he didn't know then.
Yeah.
So playing both the past and the present and all the things we know as we get older about the past is a really interesting acting challenge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too, the convention at play where he is his 7-year-old self as well as his adult self looking back. I mean, I love that convention because as children, you are as old as you've ever been up to that day. And he was very much, there was a precociousness that was still, it was such a dignified and it was a great performance.
Yes,
it really such a wonderful job. Can you speak a little bit to the absolutely gorgeous design world that you got to unleash these actors on?
I've worked with Jim Spencer before. Jim's designed some beautiful sets for me, so I was thrilled when he wanted to design this set. That was great. And then, of course, we had Jan Monroe, who's going to build the set for us, and Jan is also extremely talented as an actor, but also as a carpenter and as a set builder. And they gave me exactly what I needed. And I talked to Jim about it and what was necessary for the theatrical space, for the memory space, for the real space.
Yeah.
And I needed different aspects of this, the stove, the fireplace, the open to the outside world, but not enough outside space to really create all the scene work that has to go on in the pagan world, which is the outside world, which is where the fun happens. And then this other more closed world that could feel closed even without walls, or even without downstage walls. So that was what I asked for, and that's what they gave me.
No, it's an absolutely stunning set. Every time people walk into the space, they're like, oh.
Well, you remember, Jim's set for Stage Door was the same kind of thing. People would walk in and look at that set and go, oh my God, I want to be in this world.
Yeah, and getting to live in that world for Stage Door, I mean, it was immediately home. Everything about it just made sense when you were on stage, and it served every single character.
Yeah, the set hugged the actors, and the actors hugged the set back, and I feel the same thing happens here in this world. So very fortunate with the design team we've had, and the lighting.
Oh, Matt Richter, wonderful.
Matt Richter's wonderful, and Tim Labour's soundscape is gorgeous, and then the beautiful costumes too. So it's just everything, it's good.
One final question. In terms of the feeling that you hope when an audience leaves this world, they are thinking about as they drive home. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Oh, God, I hope they're moved. I hope they cry.
I think they will be.
I hope they have been so far. I hope they feel something deeply. That's what I really want. It's the only thing I really want. We have so many defenses up. We have to guard against how harsh this world can be, and we have to guard against our cynicism. And if they come in and they are really moved by what they see, then I am totally happy.
I think you're nailing that. I think you're nailing it.
Good.
Thank you so much for taking the time to give a little teaser as to why everybody should come and see this brilliant show, with phenomenal performances and gorgeous direction and the set. Oh my goodness, the set.
Yes, thank you very much for listening, and thank you very much for taking the time to interview me. It was fun. It's always fun.